Welcome back, CXB 2.0. Like, sub, hit that bell so you know when we're going live. Hit that bell. That way you know when the short form stuff is posted. Got some short form video posted yesterday on the channel as well. So I appreciate all the support. And as you're coming through, hit that like button. And as you're coming through, introduce yourself. My man, Wheelchair Man John in the building. Remy always coming through. Appreciate you as well. Saludos to Jesus M. Hit that like button as y'all are coming through. This is a no fanager zone. Leave the fanager talking points at the door as always. Boxing fans speaking to other boxing fans about how we can further our agenda as boxing fans. No other agenda other than that. Let's congregate. Let's have some fun. Let's have some fun at the expense of other people as well. Let's keep it clean. Keep your hands up. Protect yourself at all times. Let's get this thing going. A lot of stuff to talk about. News. Fights this weekend. I'm going to save the fights this weekend for tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we have a special show, HCPX. First show on this channel. Tomorrow night after the round table, it will be about 7:30 to 8 Central. So make sure to check out that. And we'll be talking about Lara versus Wood, betting odds, all the fights this weekend. So make sure to check that out, my guy. To Matador, saludos to you as well. Saludos to you as well. Hope y'all hear me good. We're going to have a good, fun show today. Hump day. Hope everybody's having a good day. Going earlier than normal today because got some stuff I need to take care of around lunchtime. So hopefully the people who don't normally catch it can catch it in the archive. And make sure, as always, leave your comments below in the archives. When people leave me comments in the archives and the short form videos, I get them immediately. They pop up on my screen. I got the alert, so I hit everybody back fairly quick. So appreciate everybody who's been supporting. Berlanga thinks he's fighting Canelo right away, money or skills. And I'm going to get to that. Why talk about Berlanga if he's not nowhere close for big fights? There's a reason why. There's a reason why. And I'll get to that in a minute. Let me start with some news from Japan, lower weight classes. Touch on that real quick, and then we'll get into the heavier stuff, the news, click-worthy stuff. Ioka versus Nakatani is off. Ioka was supposed to fight Junto Nakatani for the WBO, I believe. He vacates the WBO. Not going to fight Nakatani. They couldn't work it out, so now he's going to fight Josh Franco. To me, I would rather see the Ioka versus Junto Nakatani right now, but good consolation prize because I feel like Franco was jobbed. I feel like Franco won that fight against Ioka 2 months ago, and I want to see that fight again. I want to see Franco have another shot to go over to Japan and win that fight or keep that belt and win that fight rightfully like he did. I felt he did the first time. So they're going to be fighting rematch WBA. I believe that's in April or May. And then we also got Kenshiro Taraji fighting Jonathan Gonzalez. I love that fight. The reason I love that fight is because Jonathan Gonzalez is the only Puerto Rican champ. And when this fight goes off, Kenshiro Taraji will be the only Japanese champion. The reason he's the only Japanese champion is Inoue is going to vacate all of his belts at 118. He's already done that. And like I said, Ioka is about to vacate his belt at 115. So we've got one Japanese champion left at the time, and it'll be Kenshiro Taraji. He just beat Hiroto Kayaguchi. So I love Taraji versus Gonzalez for the WBO, WBC, WBA, April 18th, Tokyo. And here's the good news. ESPN Plus will be televising it. So I'm telling y'all, the dudes out here, I love talking about the lower weight classes here, and I'm trying to educate people on it because that's where you need to be. We'll be talking about other things for the most of this telecast because we want to properly educate people on why the upper weight classes are so on the spectrum, why they're a mess and why they're messing up boxing. But if you want to go somewhere where it resembles a sport, you don't have to go see the ladies fight. You can go see the dudes fight who are built like horse jockeys. 108, 112, 115. These dudes are mixing it up. Go down there and watch good fights. Go watch dudes conducting themselves, conducting business well, getting in there and laying it on the line for legacy. As a Puerto Rican, please help keep Edgar away from Canelo. I get that IBF got him like 5, but please, dear God. What are you telling me? What are you telling me, Duval? You don't want to see a replay of this? Like, you don't want to see a replay of that? Do you think, are you fearful that Berlanga is going to bite Canelo? Is that what you're fearful of? Are you fearful that Canelo is going to be up like 6-0 on the scorecards, battering Berlanga? Berlanga's about to get knocked out, and then all of a sudden he pulls out the Mike Tyson move and bites Canelo on the neck. Is this what you're afraid of? They're going to bring back the Mexico versus Puerto Rico rivalry, and they're going to do it with Berlanga. And that is hilarious to me. It's hilarious. Let me get to some comments, and we'll get more into this. Let's see. What up, Cali X? Much love from Los Angeles. Much love from the South. Much love from the swamp. Much love from South Louisiana to the rest of the world. Everybody watching. It's got a lot of subscribers out in Asia. So shout out to the Asian population as well. So my fight this weekend is announced as a #1 contender fight. Berlanga needs to perfect his skills first. I got to tell you, Remy, like if he hasn't perfected them yet, like if he hasn't come close to perfecting them, the only thing he's perfected so far, besides beating up a bunch of dudes who didn't belong in the ring with him for like the first 15 fights, the only thing he's been perfecting the past 2 or 3 fights is getting punched in the face and biting dudes on the neck. So I don't know how they're going to perfect this, and it's odd. Like Berlanga is one of those dudes, he stumbles into the right place at the right time. And what do I mean by that? Like some dudes, stuff just falls in their lap. And it falls in their lap because of maybe they haven't been doing the right things recently. And that was Berlanga, right? Why was Berlanga fielding 3 big deals at the same time? From PBC, from Matchroom, from Fake Abs Oscar. Why is he fielding 3 different deals? Why? It's because he has a built-in fan base. Top Rank did a good job, as they always do, of trying to develop young talent and then, trying to get that resistance to see if they're worth investing into the future. And in doing that with Berlanga, they built up a nice fan base for him. Puerto Rican fighter from New York. He's got a nice built-in fan base. But as we saw the last 2 or 3 fights, he's very vulnerable. And he's still undefeated. So you can market that. You can market, let's get Berlanga in 1 or 2 easy fights on the front end and then feed him to Canelo. He'll be Matchroom's crash test dummy, right? And I'll have more thoughts on this and what it means for Canelo in a minute. Because I have serious doubts as to if that fight's going to happen. But I also want to push back on the narrative that once again, the Canelo detractors are out there pushing the narrative that John Ryder is a Euro bum and we're supposed to just accept that. We're supposed to apologize to them for being Canelo fans. And this is the new narrative that's going to pop up. It's, Canelo is going to fight that Puerto Rican bum, Berlanga, and they're going to build up, and they're great at marketing, right? But I'm going to push back on that in a minute as well. I mean, at least he's active, unlike Jamal. Exactly. I'd rather Xander get the shot instead of Edgar. I would as well. Like, I want Xander to be the face of Puerto Rican boxing. I want Xander to be the dude who fights on Puerto Rican Day Parade weekend in New York. That's what I want. I'm okay with it as long as they slow burn it, because Edgar needs more fight. Edgar needs a lot more fights. Edgar versus Jamal, who you got? I got to pick Jamal on that one. Biting dudes on the neck. Pause. Canelo going to run over Berlangas with the golf cart. because of Fat Ass Joe. Fat Joe, don't bring Fat Joe into this. Fat Joe doesn't know anything about boxing. He's just there like trying to market a Puerto Rican dude from New York. But even Berlanga was forced to lean back, or he will be anyway if he fights Canelo. But don't bring the Terror Squad into this. Don't do that. You got good, fond memories of Terror Squad 20 years ago, so don't bring the Terror Squad into this, Remy. Will you talk Wood versus Lara? I will tomorrow night. The Wood versus Lara preview is tomorrow night, HCPX, tomorrow night. First show we're rolling out. After the roundtable, we'll be talking betting odds, preview, why I like Lee Wood, why I like Mauricio Lara. I love both of those fighters. I love this matchup, and I think that Wood is undervalued at 3-1 odds. I do. I think he's undervalued at 3-1 odds. Lee Wood is like he's one of those dudes, like he's like a Carl Froch type figure, right? It's like he's an underdog here, wins, knocks the guy out. He's an underdog here, wins, knocks the guy out. He's undervalued, and he continues to win. And some of these guys are perpetually undervalued because if you look at Carl Froch, when you still bring him up, when you still bring his name up as the mythical matchups to, guys who are at super middleweight currently or guys who fought at super middleweight before him, he loses all of them mythically, right? But if you take that out of theory and put it into reality, what happens? That 12-fight run he had, he's the underdog in 8 out of 12 of them, and he wins 10 out of 12. So those mythical matchups don't work with certain guys, and Lee Wood might be one of those guys. Wood might be one of those guys that you got him at 3-1 underdog again. Lara looks like he might steamroll him, but then Lee Wood comes in there and beats him. Just saying, he's undervalued at 3-1 against Lara. I like Lara a lot. Don't get me wrong. And it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Lara come in here and steamroll Wood, but I'm telling you, certain dudes have that factor. Certain dudes, perpetual underdogs, and perpetually exceed expectations. They're low expectations, and I think Lee Wood could be one of those guys. Diego Pacheco beats Berlanga right now. I think so too, and I'd rather see that fight than Canelo. I can tell you that. I like that matchup, and I would agree with you. My guy Nando in the building. Appreciate you rolling through early. We're rolling earlier than normal today. Got some stuff to take care of, so appreciate y'all coming through early. Xander versus Canelo in like 3 years. Make it happen. We'll see if Xander can make his way up there and if Canelo's still around. Salute. Pop with the drop. Boxing is a joke nowadays. We're going to try to keep it positive, but for the most part, you're right. Wood is going to knock his ass out. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo fights Jake Paul for a cruiserweight title. God, I hope not. And more on Jake Paul in a minute in WBC. For the love of God, the WBC. Oh, my God. Canelo better fight Benavidez sooner rather than later. The more he waits, the better Benavidez chances get. We'll see. We will see if Benavidez beats Plant. I guarantee you that. We will see that in 2024. I actually see Xander fighting Jamal, maybe Spence if he moves up. Pop as long as Canelo puts Jake Paul in a coffin. Good Lord. Berlanga versus Andrade. People be forgetting Lara got stopped before. Too many openings. Wood is going to catch. We'll see. And I'm going to be touching on that in depth tomorrow night on this channel. It's sad that Berlanga would be Andrade or Maul's best competition in their careers. Yeah. You're right. By the way, I mean, who did this right here? Which one of y'all did this? Who did this? Who is responsible for this nonsense right here? Who is responsible for this? Who is responsible for this? Why did y'all do this? That is not right, guys. This is not right. Why did y'all do this? I'm gonna be bouncing around a lot here, but Berlanga, like, he gets the Matchroom deal, right? And he's promised, I'm sure, by Trust Fund Eddie on the back end, right? A Canelo fight. The thing with that, though, is you can't put that in writing because Canelo's not going to be out here with Trust Fund Eddie saying, and look, Eddie said that they're already working on 2024 with Canelo, and Berlanga is possibly in the plans. Benavidez, obviously, if he beats Caleb Plant, is in the plans. I read that article. So they're already talking 2024, not only 2023, but they're throwing Berlanga out there, right? And why would they throw Berlanga out there? Because Canelo, one thing we know about Canelo, and this is backed up by track record, right? Over a decade, particularly recently, because what did Canelo accomplish? Within 11 months, he consolidates a whole division. He's aggressive. He's an aggressive A side, and he becomes undisputed. And then after that, what does he do? He goes up to 175 to challenge the champion there, and then wraps up a trilogy with Golovkin. And then now what's he going to do? He's going to go fight Ryder, homecoming fight, a top 4 guy in the division. And after that, he's already got the Bivol rematch set up, right? So we know that, what do we know? We know that Canelo is focused deeply on legacy, particularly Mexican legacy. He's well aware of his peers and what they've accomplished in the past, particularly Mexican peers, right? So he's not going to focus on Berlanga, right? We know that. And the reason I'm bringing this up is, and look, I don't want to make this another Canelo show, but you got to push back on these narratives. We pushed back on the John Ryder narrative. What was that, Monday? We're going to push back on the Berlanga narrative out there right now, because I already had people popping up out of the woodwork saying, oh, your guy Canelo, you need to back off because look, he's going to fight this Puerto Rican bum next year, Berlanga. He's not even good. He's going to fight this can next year. Oh, your guy, look at your guy. Leonard Ellerby's out there saying that they're geniuses with marketing with Canelo because Canelo's actually not that good, stuff like that. You know the narratives, right? But as we've stated in the past, it's apples to oranges when you compare Canelo to other fighters. Right? Like, I mean, let's just bring up the graphic again. Like these two guys right here. You're saving your virginity for Canelo too. He. It's like the two guys are sitting Indian style on the bed, twirling the phone cord around. You're saving yourself for Canelo too? Oh, man. One guy hasn't fought in over 600 days. It's been, I think, 607 days. One guy ducked 2 separate fighters twice in the same year. And the guy that Canelo picked to fight next beat the guy by stoppage that Bubu Andrade was supposed to fight and ducked twice in the same year. So I'm asking myself, why are the two dudes pictured speaking to each other on the phone in this meme, sitting on the bed Indian style laughing, twirling the phone cords around, pillow talk? Why can't they fight each other? That's number one. But the reason I bring up this graphic and the reason I bring them up in particular is when they say, why fight John Ryder? Why not? Who else is he going to fight? Number one. Number two, when they try to push it back against the wall and say, and by the way, we didn't just become Canelo fans out of the woodwork. He earned that, right? Over time by giving us what we want as boxing fans. And if this isn't addressing the people who just don't think Canelo's that great, it's not addressing that. That's subjective, right? There are people who think that Canelo's overrated and they have good reasoning as to why they come to that conclusion, right? I'm not saying everybody has to think Canelo's great. I'm just saying you got to give the guy credit. The sky is blue. The sky is blue at the end of the day. You can't just keep hating on this dude, detracting, moving the goalposts. It's unfair and it just makes you look stupid. But when they bring up Berlanga next year, what's going to happen? Like if he fights Berlanga, let's be realistic. What's going to happen if he does fight him? If Canelo fights Berlanga and that's his only fight in 2024, this will be the first channel to call out Canelo. And my highly intelligent chat will call out Canelo as well, if that's his only fight. But in reality, what's going to happen? Because Canelo is more aggressive than other fighters. He's fought 6 times since December 2020. His peers have either fought twice or 3 times at best since then. So he's outpacing his opposition. He's outpacing his peers by 2-1, sometimes 3-1 as far as fights fought. So if he fights Berlanga, if we're being realistic, it's going to be sandwiched in between 2 bigger fights, right? They're already wanting us to apologize for a rumor out there. First of all, Canelo, I'm sure a lot of guys have been promised a Canelo fight in order to sign on a deal, sign on the dotted line, and they never got the Canelo fight. Berlanga may be added to that list because, first of all, Berlanga has looked terrible in his last 2 or 3 fights. He's got to win the fights before he even gets there. But if Canelo fights him, it's going to look something like this. Ryder in May, Bivol in September, win or lose against Bivol. He's probably fighting again in February. At worst, May. The next fight is likely Benavidez versus Plant Winner, February, May. Let's say it's February. And then if he fights Berlanga in May, there's going to be something else behind that in September. And this is what we keep trying to tell to the Canelo detractors. First of all, you're comparing apples to oranges because if you don't get the Canelo fight that you want next, it's likely coming after that. I already see these dudes tweeting this stuff. Oh, the narrative's going to change if you fight Berlanga. They're going to have to apologize. They're going to have to backtrack. No, we're not. If he keeps behaving like Canelo, we're not. Because Berlanga will be sandwiched in between 2 bigger fights. Like we brought up, these 2 guys right here, let's say one of them, let's say it's Boo Boo. Let's say he fights Berlanga. How is that fight perceived by the public? I mean, it's just food for thought. It's just a question I have. No wrong answers, although there are wrong answers. But if Boo Boo Andrade versus Berlanga is announced for this year, how is that fight viewed by the public? It's a good fight. It's a good win for Boo Boo, right? Jamal Charlo moves up to 168 and fights Edgar Berlanga in New York or wherever. It's viewed as a good fight, an acceptable fight for Jamal Charlo, right? Especially coming off of a 2-year layoff. Right? Expectations. The expectations are different. The expectations are different for Boo Boo, for Charlo, for Benavidez. If Benavidez were to beat Berlanga, is that Benavidez's biggest win up to this point? If he were to be fighting, let's just say it's not Plant. Let's just say it's Berlanga in March. Let's just say it is. I mean, if you lose to Berlanga, you should retire. Y'all being a little too harsh on Berlanga. Jamal not fighting Andrade. He's fighting Adames. I hope you're right. I mean, I hope he fights Adames. Is he going to fight Adames? Who's he going to fight? He's saying he's going to fight in late June. Who's it going to be? I mean, the dude's had two years to recover from whatever he's got to recover from. I mean, good Lord. He's still able to keep the belt. But this is what I'm saying. Like, improvement isn't static. There's still a chance the light bulb turns on for Berlanga, and possibly, you know, we'll leave that open. We'll leave that open that Berlanga could possibly, but I think that's the exception, not the rule, Nando. Like, the rule is a guy who he is at a certain point. And you have some genius minds in Top Rank. Top Rank knows how to, and we can say what we want about Bob. We criticize him here. We criticize that stuff, but they know better than anybody how to match make. And they know better than anybody how to get to the point quicker. And what I mean by that is they provide that resistance earlier on. Bruce Trampler, they have matchmakers who are going to get to the truth earlier and figure out, is this guy worthy of investing in? And what happened? Elvis Rodriguez. I forget the dude's name. I always forget his name when I'm doing the podcast, from California, lower weight class guy who kept getting knocked out, and Top Rank dropped him, or I think they dropped him. And now Berlanga. If they see that a guy, they don't have a pathway forward in making this guy a star, that's it. They're done. They're going to cut their losses. And they get to that quicker. They know how to bring guys up. They know how to develop stars over time. They've proven that. And they know how to get to the truth quicker. And with Berlanga, they realize this isn't a guy worth investing in unless You have another guy that you can feed him to in a Mexico versus Puerto Rican rivalry. Oscar realized that I can feed him to Munguia, right? And Eddie, Trust Fund Eddie, realizes I can feed him to Canelo in a stay busy fight, because that's what the plan is. Like, don't doubt me on that. And for the love of God, man, like, dude, you gotta be honest at this point. You gotta look at Canelo's career, especially recently, and realize that the dude deeply cares about legacy, and he's gonna feed you fights quickly. So if they're talking about Berlanga, it's smashed in between two bigger fights. I'm telling you. And that's why this is another lazy narrative in the anti-Canelo war being pushed out there by the Canelo detractors. It's, oh, look, they're giving him easy fights now. Berlanga, oh, you said Berlanga sucks, and now look, your idol is gonna fade. No, that's not what this is. That's not what this is. It's what Team Batman Boxing says. He's a stay busy fight. I saw this. I swear to God, I saw this yesterday, and I just like, I was in the room getting ready, and my wife is in the room, and I just start busting out laughing. She's like, "What are you laughing at?" And I show her. She doesn't get it, obviously, but it's the funniest thing I've seen in a while, because it just, the memes do it. Like, memes do it. Memes get to the truth, and isn't this not the truth right here? Oh my, OMG, you're saving yourself. Like, just picture him like twirling the phone cord around, sitting Indian style. You're saving yourself for Canelo too. Like, I don't know what to say at this point. Like, why can't they fight each other? Why can't, at least finally, we had to drag them to it, but at least Benavidez and Plant finally got it after 5 years of bad blood, constant posturing and trash talking online. They're finally getting it. Fight each other. Benavidez wins that fight. He positions himself once again for Canelo. The payday that he lost on the scale, the payday that he lost with, he positions himself back in the front of the line if he does that. You beat Plant, you fight a stay busy fight in the fall, you got the Canelo fight in 2024. We're all going to be calling for it. All of us, especially if you beat Plant. Canelo stopped Plant in the 11th round. Some people say this is Canelo's leftovers. I'm not. But he beat Plant in the 11th round. Let's say you beat him in the 9th. Knock him out. You can get on the microphone after the fight and say, I beat Plant better than Canelo did. Give me the Canelo fight. And we'll all be calling for it. We'll all be echoing that sentiment. Like, it's just crazy, right? It's crazy. Get your fights by fighting fights. It's a crazy concept. You get the big fight by winning other fights before that. It's just crazy. Like, it's not. Yeah, this is who I was thinking of. Gabe Flores. Gabe Flores was the one that was dropped by Top Rank too. They get to the truth quicker. I don't know if y'all saw this. Let's just bring this up right now. Let me share a screen real quick. This is my guy, According to Boxing, on Twitter. And he posted this video that was on the DAZN Boxing Show. And this is Adrian Broner. I want everybody to listen to this. And if you don't hear it, let me know. I think it's going to work right. I usually don't do the videos on here, but I want everybody to listen to this real quick. Hold on.
Of course, every day I talk to Al Heyman. Every day I'm texting Al Heyman. And he's sending me money every day. It went from $5,000 a day, $10,000 a day, $2,500 a day, $1,500 a day, $1,000 a day, $750 a day, $500 a day, and then it got to $250 a day, and then it was like, Then it was like, hey. Now, I ain't took no check from this. Now he'll tell me, okay, this what you making, I ain't took no check in the last 6 fights. I know I got money. Where
so money? You're saying that this is money now. He's not loaning you. This is money. It's your money.
This is my money.
Right. He's helping you not spend it all. Is that what it is?
This is my money.
How much money does Al still owe you? I'm just curious. Throw a number out there from all of the fights and everything that you've earned.
Man,
I don't know.
no, but let him throw that.
I told that. I said, that money. I'll go make my own money.
Y'all confirm that y'all heard that real quick. Y'all confirm that y'all, because this is educational. I want y'all in the chat to confirm that y'all heard that. And I want to play it again real quick because this is
of course every day I talk to Al Heyman. Every day I'm texting Al Heyman, and he's sending me money every day. It went from 5,000 a day, 10,000 a day, 2,500 a day, 1,500 a day, 1,000 a day, 750 a day, 500 a day, and then it got to $250 a day, and then it was like, then it was like, hey. Now, I ain't took no check from this. Now he'll tell me, okay, this what you making, da. I ain't took no check in the last six fights. I know I got money. Where
so money? You're saying that this is money now. He's not loaning you. This is money. It's your money.
This is my money.
Right. He's helping you not spend it all. Is that what it is?
This is my money.
How much money does Al still owe you? I'm just curious. Throw a number out there from all of the fights and everything that you've earned.
Man,
I don't know.
no, but let him throw that.
I told that. I said, that money. I'll go make my own money.
Now, why is this important? And why do I bring it up? Because we don't like talking money and finances on here. We'd rather talk the boxing. The reason we bring it up is it's a teachable moment and it bleeds into our boxing. It holds things up. It stops our boxing because dudes get caught on the shelf. Dudes get in these beefs in the back channels with promoters and advisors, and then they sit on the shelf, and then they complain. And then when other fighters are negotiating with this certain advisor, they're being told by other fighters who are dealing with this advisor, look, you better have your T's crossed, your I's dotted, because I'm telling you, I'm not getting my money. I'm not getting my money. So the rumblings start, right? Adrian Broner saying, I haven't been paid for the past 6 fights, or I haven't been paid fully for the past 6 fights. And from what it sounds like, he didn't throw out the number. And that's a smart move. Don't throw out the number. But I'm sure what he did was say, keep your money. He's confirming it here. Keep your money and let me out of the deal. Just let me out of the deal. I'm going to go make my own money. I'm going to go sign an 8-figure 3-fight deal with BLK Prime. And when I first heard that, I thought it was too good to be true until we saw confirmed that Terrence Crawford got $10 million in full before the fight with Evan was even fought. Okay? So let's backtrack further. When Bud Crawford is in negotiations with Errol Spence Jr., what did he say on the IG Live? And I said it at the time. I said it on my podcast the next day. I said, the thing you need to take from this 15-minute IG Live out of everything he said was, I'm being reached out to by PBC fighters, guys who belong to PBC, Al Heyman's fighters, telling me, look, you better be careful here. You better make sure you have receipts. You better make sure you got your T's crossed, your I's dotted, right? So then what happens? Bud Crawford goes fight Evan Nejian, probably for more money than he would have gotten for Errol Spence. And at the time, we were blown away by this. Both fighters confirmed that they weren't getting any guaranteed money. The A side is being advised in a super fight by his advisor to not take any guaranteed money. So I think Errol Spence is looking at this stuff and he's probably starting to think it, not saying it out loud. Maybe I need to do some audits myself. Maybe he's not. Just saying, maybe he wants to do some desk audits. But Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz, why is that fight not going to happen? Because if you haven't heard yet, it's not going to happen. Sunday, Mike Coppinger reports that Deontay Wilder is looking for new promoters for the future, allegedly. That he has some frustrations with payments as far as Al Heyman. Right? And he's going to be looking for new representation in the future, allegedly. We'll see. We'll see if it plays out that way. But I had it on good information from an insider that, yes, this reporting is true, that there are some things going on in the back channels and they're not happy with the PBC. Now, let's assume that stuff is true or it could not be true. But what happens the next day? And my ears perked up when I saw it, is the IBF orders Hrgović versus Ruiz for the interim title. And apparently it's against their rules, but what did the IBF come out and say the next day? The IBF said both parties, both camps came to us interested in the fight, so we ordered the interim fight. Both parties came to us. So if Ruiz is going to the IBF and saying, hey, remember that Hrgović fight that y'all wanted to happen? Can we bring that back? Why is that happening? It's because obviously Ruiz is realizing that Deontay Wilder is not coming to the table. And it's not coming to the table because I'm sure Al Heyman can't deliver the fight. And maybe Al Heyman can't deliver the fight because he owes Deontay Wilder money for previous fights. Deontay Wilder has been out publicly in the past month or two saying that maybe, just maybe, he's not getting all of his money either. But Wilder versus Ruiz, you know, I hate to break it to people, but it's all but dead. I'd love to see it happen. I'd love to see a 180 here and the fight happens and then all is great, but I don't, you know, doesn't sound like it. You start to put and piece things together, it doesn't sound like it. Right? So what now? What happens now? If Deontay Wilder is going to go and fight Ngannou and field possible offers from the Saudis and oil money, and I have a question with that too, is like, why does it seem like Al Heyman is the only person in the boxing world who can't get Saudi oil money? We've seen Bob's fighters fight over there. We've seen Oscar's fighters fight over there. We've seen Eddie's fighters over there. You know, trust fund Eddie loves the Saudi money too. But Al can't go over there and get the money for big fights. Why? Why is that? So if Deontay Wilder is going to go field offers over there for a possible Ngannou home and home, which I hate, by the way. I hate. I'm a purist. I'm a boxing fan. I'm not going to ruin anybody's fun. Different strokes for different folks. If that's the type of stuff you're into, that's fine. But don't keep Wilder. What I'm saying is don't keep Wilder in the rankings if that's what he's going to do. If he's going to fight Helenius in a comeback fight, a washed-up Helenius in a comeback fight, and then the next year fight back-to-back fights with Ngannou, take the dude out the rankings. And obviously, if he does that, I'm just saying if he does that, you know, we don't know yet. If he does that, theoretically, obviously, like, legacy is on the side at that point. We're going after money, which is fine. He's entitled to getting back in money. But once again, take him out the rankings. And then when we talk Hall of Fame, keep this stuff in mind when we talk Hall of Fame after he retires. Keep this stuff in mind. Because right now, as of right now, Deontay Wilder's biggest win is an older Luis Ortiz, 2 wins, and then Bramani Stavern. That's it. That's his resume, fellas. That's his resume. But once again, we can circle it all the way back to Canelo. We were here wondering last year why Canelo is taking the harder deal with Dimitri Bivol on the front end rather than the easier PBC deal for around the same amount of money, right? We all we're like, that was the easier deal. He could have took that one. Fighting 160 Charlo at 168, a guy who had been inactive, great stylistic matchup for Canelo. And then every single time I hear it, I got to laugh. Once Errol Spence at 164. And then Benavidez on the back end. That's a good fight, but that's on the back end. But why is that? And the PBC guys, ironically, always tell me not all money is good money, but not all money is good money. I'm sure these same PBC fighters are talking to Canelo and his team, and Canelo seeing this stuff and saying, you know, I don't want to be on a payment plan. I want my money up front. You know, money-wise, Wilder versus Ngannou is the one to take, considering it be billed the lineal UFC heavyweight champion. While they're going to feel stupid passing on that 120 mil from Hearn for Brazil and AJ 2 fights, that's what happens when your advisor is Al Heyman. And a lot of these guys, like Broner, is out there complaining, but Broner was out there bragging about the money he was getting and turning down big-time offers. I mean, big-time, $40 million offers to go elsewhere. Wilder and Ngannou would be a huge pay-per-view fight. That's the fight to make financial standpoint. I agree with that. All I'm saying is, as a boxing fan, if you're going to do that, you got to take the guy out the rankings, because that's not that's not the guy 0-0. You can't, that's not a boxing match. And if you're going to do a 2-fight deal with them, is what they're saying, and you're coming off of Hellenius, you got to take the guy out the rankings, or at least drop him heavily. So I understand, like, getting your back end money. I get that. Getting money you feel like you lost because you're not getting paid in full by your previous outfit. I get that. He's entitled to that. That's fine. What I'm saying is, as a boxing fan, it doesn't do anything for me. And as far as the sport doesn't align with the business there. And as a sport, you have to penalize them. You have to penalize them as a boxing fan. Better be going to get worked, I guess, by Bivol. I saw declines. He may be KO'd by Bivol. Let's see what else we got. Fights can be super easy to make when both parties want to fight. Guys, that's right. That's right. It's bad if Heyman can't put Wilder versus Ruiz together. I think that's when it's getting bad. I mean, that should have been a home run, right? That should have been a makeable fight. And by the way, I was being told on chats, on roundtable chats by the PBC guys, that Wilder versus Ruiz is a big pay-per-view fight. They can do at least 500,000, right? 500,000 buys. Huge pay-per-view fight. And I was being told that Wilder's a pay-per-view draw. Although his last fight with Lineas, what did they do? Like 70,000 buys, something like that. And I was told to stop complaining about that. And like I said in my last podcast, there's coming a point in time, and I think it's sooner than later. I just get that my instincts tell me it's sooner than later, that these LDBC channels, these super duper PBC fans, like extremist fans that come after all of us when we say just the least amount of negative things about Al or whatever. And I mean, and also, like, God, Canelo had to cross the street to go fight Caleb Plant. This dude's so petty. If a nickel park is sold if a nickel bag is sold in the park, this dude wants in. That's Al Heyman. He needs to get in on everything. He can't let his fighters fly and go elsewhere for one fight, like Eddie did. Like Eddie said, Canelo, go, just come back. You know, go get that undisputed money and come back. But if they can't make Wilder versus Ruiz at this point, and by the way, like, when is Tank versus Ryan going to officially be? Like, we're 2 months out. It's February 15th, and they want to do this April 15th. When is this thing going to be officially official? Why does it take them so long? And then they don't properly promote. I talk about this all the time. I'm on my podcast, and I pull up the PBC screen. It's 5 days before the fight, Morrell Jr. in Minnesota, and they don't have the fight on their own website schedule. You can go to badlefthook.com. You can go to Dan Rayfield's outfit. You can go to ESPN and see Morrell Jr. versus on the schedule. But you couldn't get it on the own PBC schedule. They don't even have the money to update their own schedule on the website because PBC wants rematch fight rights. I don't know. Yeah, I know. And apparently they agreed to that, but then there's more obstacles. There's always more obstacles and more obstacles. Possibly they're waiting to see what this court date does and what happens with that before they make it officially official. I don't know. But I wanted to bring this up too, is belts gone wild. WBC, for the love of God. They already named the division over a kid that got eaten by a dog, Bridgerweight. They're allowing Jamal Charlo to keep his belt when he hasn't fought in 607 days. I mean, I still can't get past that one. Jamal Charlo hasn't fought in 607 days, and he's able to hold on to his belt. He still has it. And by the time he fights, it's going to be over 700 days. And he's able to defend that belt. How? All right. But then we get further. This is a statement, a WBC official statement. If Jake Paul wins versus Tommy Fury, the WBC will rank him in the cruiserweight division. Jake Paul has been close to the WBC for several years. I'm sure he has. The WBC will not tolerate. This is the funniest part right here. This is a mouthful, and this is the funniest part. The WBC will not tolerate discrimination against anyone. He deserves the opportunity that any other boxer has. You know, I'm seeing this being framed by boxing fans as you guys just want to hate on Jake Paul, and I haven't hated on Jake Paul one damn time. I've said from the beginning, from Roy Jones to Mike Tyson, I saw it coming, and I said I'm not down for this at all. But if you want to do it, that's fine. Different strokes for different folks. It's not ruining my boxing watching. That's fine. I'm just not going to go over there. It's just not my thing, right? So I haven't been hating on Jake Paul at all. But when people start to take him seriously as a boxer, right? When he's fighting a backup retired NBA point guard, UFC guys, and then they're going to say he's going to fight a real boxer now. A real boxer. It's going to be Tommy Fury. Look at the last name, and he's a real boxer. So if he beats this guy, you guys need to stop hating. He has proven himself. What do we always talk about? Like, they always look out for the A sides. They always virtue signal. And in their virtue signaling, they're only looking out for the A sides, never the B sides. And they're going to frame themselves as looking out for the fighters, and anybody who is against them is against the fighters. False dichotomy. But what happens? Jake Paul, let's say Jake Paul beats Tommy Fury. Let's say he knocks him out. What did he just do? What did he just accomplish? He beat the number 364th. 364. The number 364th ranked cruiserweight in the world, according to BoxRec. And the only reason I bring this up is it just shows the hypocritical boxing fans, but it also shows the WBC, because Jake Paul is just collateral damage here. I don't care about Jake Paul. Whatever happens to him happens. It doesn't matter. I thought he was doing something big for women's boxing at some point, but he wasn't even involved in Serrano's last fight, and it was still big. And she was doing things before him. He was just like a sideshow. But the reason I bring this up, like, Jake Paul is just collateral damage, is the WBC. Like, people will cite, I go to conventions. I know what I'm talking about. You need to get more educated on how the sanctioning bodies work and the rules. They don't even follow their own rules. They're not even following their own rules. A dude is not supposed to have a belt for 607 days and be able to defend it. He should be stripped. And these same boxing fans will tell me Golovkin's holding up the division. Golovkin's the only fighter in the super middleweight division, or the middleweight division, who unified recently. Unified against Murata and went over there to do it. And on top of that, he's vacating. He's saying, take it. Get on with the show. Get on with the middleweight division. Just take it. Have it. I'm going to fight Munguia or whatever he's going to go. Wherever he's going to go. Move up to 168, whatever he wants to do. But he's saying, take the belts. Get on with your process. He's not holding up anything. At least not right now. Jamal Charlo is holding up a division. I got dudes telling me he's going to fight Adames next. Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath on that one. I hope he does, but he's holding up the division. And when dudes will tell you you're hating on Jake Paul because you're against him being ranked the top 10 in WBC, what about the dude who really belongs at number 10 in the rankings? Because when they're going to do it, they're going to put Jake Paul at number 10 after beating Tommy Fury. What happened to the dude who gets bumped for Jake Paul? What about him? He's a hard worker, right? Maybe like he's honest living, and honestly belongs at number 10. What about him? We don't care about him because he's not Jake Paul. We're going to bump him for a dude who beats backup point guards and number 364 in the division. And that's the WBC, and that's who you want to cite. And what I'm telling you is you can go to hell with that. You can go to hell with that. Jamal Charlo hasn't fought since 2006. There are no rules. We make all this shit up. And dude, like, I am Dwayne this time. I like that comment because I've actually gone and I've actually put it on the podcast, gone through like page 24, page 27 of these rule books. And I'm reading it and it's so vague. And I'm like, they can just do whatever they want. And they do. Just do whatever they want. And it's fine. And also that's where we are. But I mean, this right here, I can't get over this. This is one of the funniest memes I've seen in quite some time. You're saving yourself for Canelo too? But this is where we're at with the PBC and building stars and not building stars. And this is why we talk about it. It's like they complain and they complain and they complain about what the guys who are active are doing, but then their guys are not active and they're not accomplishing anything. And we're supposed to pull out the small violin for those guys, right? So when I hear something like this, like when I hear something like this, let me play it again because this is important to hear. This is important to hear. When I hear something like this.
Of course, every day I talk to Al Heyman. Every day I'm texting Al Heyman. And he's sending me money every day. It went from 5,000 a day, 10,000 a day, 2,500 a day, 1,500 a day, 1,000 a day, 750 a day, 500 a day, and then it got to $250 a day, and then it was like, Then it was like, hey. Now, I ain't took no check from this. Now he'll tell me, okay, this what you making, da da da. I ain't took no check in the last six fights. I know I got money. Where
so money? You're saying that this is money now. He's not loaning you. This is money. This is your money.
This is my money.
He's helping you not spend it all. Is that what it is?
This is my money.
How much money does Al still owe you? I'm just curious. Throw a number out there.
No, don't throw
from
a
all
number
the fights and everything that you've, earned.
Man,
I don't know.
no, but let him
He doesn't know.
I told that
he doesn't know.
I said, that money. I'll go make my own money.
Mm.
And he doesn't know. I'm sure he doesn't know. And I'm sure Errol doesn't know. And I'm sure if these dudes do desk audits, they find out and they figure it out and they say, oh, and then they figure out like I'm locked into a deal here. And then they figure out I got to let this dude just keep my money to get out of this deal. And I'm sure Adrian Broner came to that conclusion, and that's why BLK Prime happened. But like, if you look at Showtime, I want to bring this up. Vargas versus Foster ratings, good fight. And I'm happy for O'Shaquie Foster. But you know what the ratings were for this fight? It peaked at 164,000. And I'm going to have people saying, oh, it went up against it didn't go up against the Super Bowl, by the way. The Super Bowl is on Sunday. Saturday night before the Super Bowl. Nothing really big that it went up against, 164,000. And the craziest part about that is it peaked. What did Tank versus Hector Luis Garcia peak at for the replay? 124,000. And you can say, oh, that's a replay people knew. But if you look at ratings in the past, the replays do well from pay-per-views. 124,000. 164,000 for O'Shaquie Foster Showtime Championship Boxing versus Ray Vargas. Those are terrible ratings. And to put it in perspective as to how bad these are, we can look at ratings from just 7, 8, 9 years ago. I mean, like Cotto versus Trout. 1.4 million. Cotto versus Trout on Showtime. 1.4. Canelo versus Josecito Lopez, 1.1. Santa Cruz, 1.5 against Queller. Mayweather versus Cotto replay, 1.5. Khan versus Molina on Showtime, 616,000. So 6 times the amount, 6 times the audience for Khan versus Molina. You even got fights like Donaire versus Arce, we're doing 1.3. Some of these are on HBO, but it still gives us, a good barometer as to how far we've fallen. Showtime. And how do we get to this point, you ask? It's just years and years and years of not putting on the fights that you should be putting on. Let's put boxing back on network TV, they said. 2014. Free boxing for all. Al Heyman is going to be the savior. He's going to bring boxing back to network TV, expose everybody to boxing, and we're going to take this thing off again. What happens? He exposes them to boxing, but he exposes them to it's built in his image. And that's an ugly image to expose people to. All they're being exposed to is trash boxing. It's not best versus best. Even after a good fight, you're asking yourself, why did that guy fight that guy when these two guys are the best and that's an unmakeable fight? You're not putting on the best fights. You're not putting on top opposition against top opposition. Things are taking forever to develop. So even if a guy puts on a good performance, you're not going to see him again until next year. Al Heyman has built the part-time boxing model. And he did it under the guise of being pro fighter safety. Fighters are going to be paid. We're going to tip the balance of power back to the fighters. But then you see stuff like this coming out. Where's my money? Where's my money? Where's my money? Why isn't my money coming? You told me that you were going to take care of me. Why am I sitting on the shelf? Why did I only fight once last year? I really wanted to fight this guy. Why am I not getting that fight? Why are you putting me in an in-house fight instead? Over time, the house just starts crumbling a little bit and crumbling a little bit and crumbling a little bit. And it goes back to what I said. These LDBC channels, these PBC lunatics on Twitter, boxing Twitter, they're going to come to the point pretty soon. Maybe it's next year, maybe it's 2 years from now, whatever it is, where more of their favorite fighters complain. And on top of that, they're going to have to start picking between their favorite fighters and Al. I was optimistic when this first started. And the reason it frustrates me is some of my favorite fighters are in that PBC stable. Stephen Fulton Jr., who looks like he's going to go fight in a way, good for him. They're at least going to do that one. But Errol Spence Jr. was one of my favorite fighters. Jermell Charlo, one of my favorite fighters. I have favorite fighters in this stable that are being held back by these business decisions, and that's why I keep bringing this up. It's holding the sport back. Let's mention the elephant in the room, the UFC. And I've always said this, and I appreciate this super chat. The UFC, yeah, like we brought this analogy up in the past, right? Or this example up. It's you have a fight on one block, you have a basketball game on one block, you have a football game, baseball game on this block in a neighborhood. What's everybody going to gravitate towards naturally? It's going to be the fight. But I'll take it even further. Let's say on this block you have a fist fight, on this block you got a wrestling match. What's most people going to gravitate towards? The dudes getting punched in the face and punching people in the face, or the dudes wrestling on the ground? Or perhaps UFC resembles more of a street fight. Maybe you can have that. But I would argue that people would gravitate towards the fist fight, the pure fist fight. And it's not enough. This isn't enough of an alibi for me that it's the UFC. The UFC runs their business well, but that's the point. And I understand, like down here in Louisiana, football is king. Football has taken a lot of the audience. But my point is, like, people can multitask. So if boxing is on its P's and Q's, if boxing is doing what it's supposed to be doing, it would still be relevant despite all of that. I've seen it, man. I've seen people in the market make choices like, if the brand is damaged, they're going to stay away from it. And boxing's brand is damaged, and boxing did that. Boxing did that. If boxing would get its act together, it will be relevant again. But they're not allowing that to happen. The business, the politics get in the way. Boxing is its worst enemy. I'm not discounting that UFC has something to do with it. I'm not discounting that football has something to do with it, that a lot of these football players would be boxers. I get all that. I get all that. But what I'm saying is boxing at the end of the day is its own worst enemy. And this is it. Like, I agree with you here. I agree with this. UFC is conducting its business more intelligently, but that's the point. That's my point, is it's not all UFC here. It's also boxing acting like it's on the spectrum. So people want a normal, more commonsensical model. And UFC resembles boxing enough to where boxing fans could go over there and get a more commonsensical model and better fights for their money. You're right. You're right about that. But you can't take out of the equation that boxing did that. Boxing, you know, if you have a dime piece and everything's going great, but then all of a sudden you're not married yet or anything, she starts acting up and she's not conducting herself well. And then your eyes start to wander, right? You're like, she looks pretty good too. You know, she's got a job. She's got her stuff together. She looks every bit as good as this girl over here that I'm with. Maybe, just maybe, I need to keep my options open. And then your eyes keep wandering and they keep wandering. You're seeing this looks pretty good over here and this not so much. This not so much anymore. Your eyes keep wandering and then you end up over there. That's how it happens. But boxing opened that door. Boxing could have kept people in under the tent had it conducted itself well. And this is why I can't understand the boxing fans with Stockholm syndrome, because you're working against our better interests. And you're working against our better interests for the betterment of people who don't care about you. These fighters that you're capping for who aren't organic fan base and they aren't organically keeping you in as a fan for whatever reason you're staying there. They don't care that you're on YouTube doing 7-hour lives. Hour live a day capping for them. You got a dude who doesn't even do interviews. He's got a network exec coming out and doing interviews for him. He doesn't care enough about you to do interviews. Capping for him at the expense of boxing. And it's disgusting. On that note, I'll see y'all tomorrow night. ACPX, first of its kind, tomorrow night, 7:30 to 8 p.m. Central. So make sure to check that out. Heavy hitting show. We'll be talking the fights this weekend, Lara versus Wood, etc., etc. Thank y'all for tuning in. Peace. God bless.